fundraising is easier than building a startup. You can't be 9 to 5 and also do something meaningful. You can't have both.
You started coding at an age of 10. 13 साल में you became a professional coder.
I was born in a very small town in Madhya Pradesh called Rewa. I stopped seeking validation very, very early.
From the typing centers of Rewa to building a category-defining AI company, Gaurav Singh is shaping the future of conversations. As founder of Verloop, he's proving that clarity, obsession, and conviction can scale just as fast as code.
Somewhere, we have started to place the identity of an entrepreneur over the identity of somebody who's working for a startup.
The people who do the startup because they find it cool, in 12 months they figure out it takes a lot of blood, sweat to be able to actually reach to a point where it's materially worth something.
You have been one of the celebrated entrepreneurs in the AI space and the kind of work that you are doing. Do you think we have got enough time left considering the climate condition that we are sitting in right now?
So Gaurav, thank you so much. Such a pleasure having you here, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for inviting.
Thank you so much for making this possible. Gaurav, you were born in Madhya Pradesh.
Right. I was born in a very small town in Madhya Pradesh called Rewa. It's at the border of Uttar Pradesh. So Allahabad will be the closest airport for us. It's about 100 kilometers from Allahabad.
Yeah. Right. So how was it to be born in a place called Rewa in Madhya Pradesh? If you could recall one such memory from there, that brings a smile on your face today as well.
See, it's a theoretically, and if you will look at census data, it's a huge town. But because it's very, very spread out, so the town itself is small. But the political boundaries will be much bigger. But the town is very small. So it was like a typical old town. In the community that we were in, there were not many people, so everyone knew everyone. I'll say half of the city would have known each other.
Yeah.
Very small towns. So it was nice. It was fun. A lot of careless kids roaming around, playing freely, which we don't see now. And I sort of crave. And now the city has grown so much.
Yeah.
But I still miss that old small town. Not too many schools, not too many families. And just
I'm sure.
Peaceful life.
Yeah. You know, as I'm listening to a song which is coming to me, वो गाना है ना, दौलत भी ले लो, शोहरत भी ले लो.
Oh, absolutely. I will do anything to get back to that peace. Like that town still doesn't have a lot of ambition. That materialism hasn't kicked in, but I will say, unfortunately, a lot of politics has seeped in.
Yeah.
So it's not as peaceful as it used to be. Plus, it has grown. The country has grown. So after effects, the trickle down effect. But in my memories, I would love to go back to it any single day.
Yeah. So you said at that point in time, there was not much of an ambition, right? And you started coding at an age of 10. 13 साल में you became a professional coder. So I'm just curious कि मतलब एक बंदा जो मध्य प्रदेश में who was born in Madhya Pradesh, तो ये जो entrepreneur का जो कीड़ा था, ये कब और कैसे काटा?
Actually, interesting story to that. So I was super fat as a kid, like very, very fat. I have reduced weight. Today I'm lesser in weight than what I used to be as a 10-year-old kid. So, and
I'm not surprised because you have just shared with me your daily schedule, when you wake up, what you eat, when you have your first meal, and then that's the last meal as well. So I'm not surprised.
So I was very clear, खेलूंगा नहीं मैं. This is just way too tiring. And my mother wanted me to step out and play because I'm sure deep in her, she knew it's not healthy, but there's a maa ka pyar, and I was fed and also asked to go and play at the same time. And I was clear, khelna vilna nahi ho payega. I'm just content eating food and playing. So not playing. So at that point of time, close to home, there was a place where opened up a cyber cafe. Actually not a cyber cafe, it was a typing center. जहाँ पर for the first time those typewriters were giving way for PageMaker. PageMakers of the word, Corel Draws of the word, just typesetting होता था, right? And when I went there and I saw the computer for the first time, I was absolutely fascinated. कि यार ये interesting है. I just fell in love immediately, and then I negotiated कि for the time when I'm supposed to play, I'll go to that typing center and I'll do whatever I feel like. And the guy was also happy because I was typing on his behalf, so he could do binding, he could do 100 other things while I typed the stuff for him. So that's how I started getting into it. And then I mean, the typing gets boring beyond a point.
Yes.
Right? More so for a 10-year-old kid. So then I started getting into programming. I learned HTML, and then I learned something called as DHTML. It doesn't exist now. ASPX tha, JavaScript tha. I started learning a bit of it. By 13, I was bored again. कि अभी सीख लिया, what am I supposed to do? Because I was building stuff and then कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, right? बना दिया, अभी वो पड़ा हुआ है. So जब तक बनाने में मज़ा आ रहा था. But at some point you start seeking what next. So two things happened. One is my house was very close to Government Engineering College, and they had electrical, I think. जिसमें they used to have a major and minor projects for the third year and the final year kids, students who were there. And most of them didn't know programming, but they had to build a project on it. So I started building their projects.
At an age of 13?
Yeah.
Wow.
These were third year and final year people, and their major and minor projects होते हैं engineering में. So I started doing their projects, and that started getting me money.
Beautiful.
And the type center guy was happy because then when I will make the project report will be printed at his place. Right? So he will get money there as well. So we both were happy, started there, but again साल भर में बोर हो गया कि यार see those projects are very basic, at least back then, right? एक post office management system बना रहा है, दूसरा library management system बना रहा है, तीसरा hospital management system बना रहा है. Essentially those were the same APIs running. Now we call them APIs. Back then those were the same functions. I had to just change the names enough so that teacher doesn't catch it. And then बाकी सब सेम था ऊपर से. I mean, you just change the makeup, put some lipstick differently, and then you called it a hospital management system. Right? So then got bored, and then I got into a lot of open source, started doing WordPress and so on, and then from there I picked up. But yeah.
Well, that was probably in the year 2010 around?
Year I don't remember, but no, wouldn't have been 10. 8 I went to college. Should have been 5, 6, 7.
Wow.
5, 6, 7.
Wow. And that's when you started your first company that got acquired as well?
No. So I was in the third year of college. So actually, then in the college, I did a lot of freelance. And these were international freelance work. So I was getting paid in dollars. I didn't know
Not bad. jack
about taxes. So while I was taxable every single year, I just paid nothing. And thankfully, no one came and caught me. But... and then by in the first 2 years, built enough, spent enough, burned through every single thing. But again, it gets boring, right? When you're young, you're like, कि अभी लिख दिया, अभी क्या करूँ? And if you will look at a typical freelance project that you will get as a, no matter how good a WordPress developer you are, it starts becoming mundane. You're building some plugins, you're fixing some bugs, you're improving some performance, you're caching something more, and that's about it. Khatam. WordPress ecosystem chota hai once you get into the depth of it. So then it started getting boring again. At that time, what I realized were two things. One is that I was getting projects on a third-party website. Elances, freelancers of the world, and so on and so forth. And then eventually I had my own customers who will bring in a direct stream of work. That was one, that projects will be floated, I will pick it up. And the second thing was, over the trial and errors, I had made an absolute policy. Do whatever, I will not work with Indian customers. टाइम से पैसे नहीं देते हैं, स्कोप क्रीप होता है, काम करवाते जाते हैं, काम कभी खत्म नहीं होता है. I mean, so I will not work with Indian customers. I was clear on that. So when I started when I started thinking about it, I thought, and you're young, right? ज़्यादा सोच नहीं पाते हो आप, या तो बहुत ज़्यादा सोचते हो या तो कुछ नहीं सोचते हो, बीच का ज़्यादा कुछ होता नहीं. So I thought कि I'll solve this problem. I will start a website. We called it StockNinja. There was another guy.
StockNinja.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was another guy in Bangalore who was a co-founder. We started this, which was like a freelancer marketplace on one side, and startups floating their projects. Indian startups floating their projects from the other side. So we had great chaps from IIT Madras guys were there, and then there were a lot of good college kids in the third year, final year of their college who will be available as a freelancer. Then we used to get projects from, we got projects from Flipkart and a bunch of other large
And
brands.
that point in time, the term
2011.
startup was not that celebrated.
I don't know. I
was
mean,
it?
I was just having fun and doing
Yeah.
it. Baki naam to
Yeah, yeah,
secondary, right? So we started building that marketplace, and we used to get these projects. We'll vet these projects. We will take the money. We'll escrow the money to ensure whatever I faced personally wasn't happening, and then we'll let the people do it. And then when they will do it, we'll build up a stack rank them on who is good and what, and then you can hire them.
Yeah.
So that was the first startup. It didn't get acquired actually. At some point, we just figured this is not gonna make a lot of money. We can get into depth of it, but it wasn't a sustainable model to be in.
Yeah. That at that age, Gaurav, you must be like 17, 18, 19.
Should be, yeah.
Right? At that age, what is more important is the kind of friends that you hang around with. Primarily, अगर मैं एक साइकी देखूं, एक 17-18 साल के लड़के की, उनकी साइकी होती है, who am I hanging around with? Who am I dating? Or who my friends are? Or let me just try and let me just go and have a drink without even telling my parents. And you were involved in doing coding. You were involved in HTML, DHTML. You were talking about the projects. ये जो shift था, ये कैसे आया?
So actually, I have thought a lot about it a lot of times.
Drive क्या कर रही थी?
So what had happened was, because I started making money super early, and I couldn't tell it to parents that I'm making money. Otherwise, वो बोलते पढ़ाई करो. Like even till date, my mother says कि I mean, if the computer hadn't happened, this guy could have cracked IIT. And I was working at a government engineering college, Jabalpur. So I couldn't tell any of them. तो उसमें हुआ क्या था, and this is my reflection on it, it could be wrong, is I stopped seeking validation very, very early.
You stopped seeking validation very, very early.
हाँ.
What a powerful statement it is.
क्योंकि ऐसे बता नहीं सकता था, काम क्या कर रहा हूँ बता नहीं सकता था.
You were like a raw agent ready at that age.
Scraping through 500 rupees per project.
I know. The other day I had an IPS officer here and he has worked with Raw. I said, what do you think? What's the number one trait that makes who you guys are? He said, you have to conceal your identity. So, please go ahead.
So, see, most of the things that people in college do is to gel together.
Yeah.
It is to feel cool. And cool is
who you hang around with.
Cool is who you hang around with, and a lot of for things become cool, like cigarette smoking is cool, alcohol is cool, drunk driving is cool. I mean, whatever they see in
dating
movie
is cool.
Usme what happened, right? Because I had stopped seeking that validation for most part, most of those things didn't matter to me. Like I knew, mujhe ye karna hai. So life was easier. Plus, I had absolute love for coding. So, no matter what I did, I will just go back to it. I will learn more, do more, get more things done. And the more I interacted with outside world, the more I could see the hollowness in a lot of things that as a student, everyone around was doing. So, I sort of had a dual life. During the day, I will just code. And college had no restrictions on attendance. Like in one semester, I went to college 5 days. But I was very close to HOD of IT. So I used to manage the infrastructure of entire college. Network, internet, email, server room. They had IBM's center of excellence. No one knew how to handle it. So I had insane amount of compute in hand. and a 12 Mbps leased line.
Beautiful.
उस टाइम पे 256 kbps मिलता था, तो 12 Mbps leased line. So I'll spend my entire day in that IBM center of excellence with huge servers and the entire college network at my disposal. And then once the sham ho jayega, raat ho jayega, then I will hang out, I will party, I will do everything. I mean, there was money to be spent. So sham mein spend hoti thi. But I knew I have to go back to it because this fuels my life.
So at this point in time, I'm sure there is an audience who are in their 20s as well. If you were to give a piece of advice to them, what would that be?
See, I'll give two. One is the friendships you will make there matter. They will be one of the most, they have seen you in the phase that a lot of people will not eventually. So you are truest with that lot.
With those people.
So those friendships will matter, but don't over-index on all the drama that happens around it. Right? Breakup ho gaya, ab kaise manage karenge, jhagda ho gaya, and so on. Don't over-index on the drama.
Ke bhai gaadi bhai chalayega.
Gaadi bhai chalayega. Right? So that drama is pointless. It doesn't help. It brings in a lot of pain even back then. So if you can cut through that, but do build a bunch of true friends, because
connections,
they will last.
Because what I've picked up here is that don't seek external validation. For me, that's like really powerful. Forget about in my 20s, and if today only, if I can actually accept this advice, I think my life would be very, very different. Gaurav, help me understand. You spoke about कि मामा ने कहा कि अगर हमारा लड़का computers नहीं होते, उसमें indulge नहीं होता, तो IIT में जाता.
Correct.
Right? What's your relationship with the IIT? I mean, do you think it's overhyped? Is it a reality check? Is it all the people who are getting into IIT, they are like class apart? I mean, what's your genuine take on that?
It's a force multiplier. Both ways. Like over the years, I have been fortunate to work with so many of super smart chaps from IITs, right? So two things come out of it. When I look now, it's sort of a pseudo signal for me that if required, the person can push through everything and make things work. And if they're driven, they will be extremely driven. If they're not driven, then they will be extremely non-driven, right? So it depends on who you hang out with and who you pick it. And that becomes fairly easy to figure out. Once they have been out of the college for 5-6 years, it becomes relatively easier to figure that difference out, right? Shuru mein nahi pata chalta hai. So that's one. Second is usually understated fact is the network it brings in. That network, if you don't belong to that set of people, then it takes years to build. वो जो वैसे ही मिल जाता है, right? You can write to an alumni and they will respond. The propensity of that happening for a close-knit MBAs and IITs and all the top colleges is much higher than a tier 2 or tier 3 college.
I agree.
So that's the upside. Baki, beautiful campuses, great infrastructure. And then it depends on what you do with it.
And the kind of teachers that you get to learn from.
I don't think teachers really change anything in college for you. It's the friends, it's what you do in your time.
And how much drive you have.
Drive will be a function of your friends.
Thank you. Let's shift the gears here, Gaurav. You have been one of the celebrated entrepreneurs in the AI space, and the kind of work that you are doing, it's cutting a lot of unnecessarily noise in the space of AI. It's something meaningful you are doing. तो ये जब अंदर से आवाज़ आई कि यार बीपीओ सेक्टर में करते हैं, आज कुछ तूफान नहीं करते हैं, वो कहाँ से आवाज़ आई? व्हाट वाज दैट ट्रिगर?
तो
why BPO business for you?
Right. So if you'll just go back to what we were discussing, right? I've been always a tech guy. Managing machines is very, very easy versus managing humans. So in the business, 1 + 1 will be 2 a million times. With humans, 1 + 1 depends on what you had for breakfast. If you had a fight with your room partner or wife, how financially, mentally, emotionally stressed you are. The answers could vary. So when we were doing the previous business, which was called Magic Tiger, which was where we were trying to build a MX like concierge, but for everyone. We had about 120 people.
Wow.
On a BPO side of it. And that's the first time I was managing humans. And I was like, what the fuck is this?
I know. I know.
And
that's where you experience the pain in true sense.
And I met people who had 5,000 people contact centers. Of course, they were veterans, so they weren't as troubled. They had accepted that as a way of life and built a career on it. Right? So उनकी life में ऐसा ही होता था. But I was like, if I have 120 people this problem, it won't linearly scale. It will multifold at 5,000. So that's when I was like, and then I was thinking, करते क्या है? A lot of it is repeat, high volume repeat.
Yeah.
Which is a good contender for automation, first contender for automation. So even now, if you look with the Gen AI, everything is now talking ki contact center automate hoga is the first thing. That's because, I mean, the nature of problem statement is inherently simpler than solving more complex problems. Cancer dissection is going to be hard. But contact centers ticket to solve kar sakte hain.
Yeah. You know, let me bring another perspective. Now, every time when I interact with people say, "Yaar, kuch startup karna yaar." Right? Every time when I talk to another person, the person will say, "You know, Gaurav, yaar, kuch business karna yaar." मतलब क्या करना है वो नहीं पता है, कुछ business करना है यार, पैसा कमाना है यार. So don't you think that starting a new business for yourself, it has become more of an identity issue? Somewhere we have started to place the identity of an entrepreneur, the identity of a startup guy over the identity of somebody who's working with, let's say, any MNC or who's working for a startup. So this is जो identity के जो clash हो रहा है.
See, the people who do the startup because they find it cool.
Yeah.
In 12 months, they figure out that it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and some more to be able to actually reach to a point where it's materially worth something.
Yeah.
See, fundraising is easier than building a startup.
Beautiful. Fundraising is easier than building a startup.
Because in fundraise, what happens is you have to convince one guy.
Yeah.
Or one board or a bunch of angels who financially want to deploy capital. So they are looking for signals to invest.
Yeah.
A typical user doesn't care about you. Unless you bring a material difference in their life, which can only happen through product, no matter how much money you have raised, he doesn't care. He or she doesn't care. आप अपने पैसे थोड़ी ना उसे दे रहे हो. One way is you give cashbacks, and that's a good way to acquire customers. Will that build a business? Not really. And so building businesses is hard. And people who go for the glamour of it or because it sounds cool, figure it out in 12 months. And I mean, that water keeps clearing. I mean, you will have a crop of people coming in who will figure it out that it doesn't work, and then they will get out. I will say a lot of enterprise people are doing amazing job, right? And their jobs at times are fundamentally harder than what we as a founders also do, because they have to navigate 100 more things to do it. Do they get celebrated? Probably slightly lesser. But that should fix over time. Plus, I mean, different people seek different things. Some people want that predictable, calm life, and that's great for them.
Beautiful. So, Gaurav, you made a profound statement. He said, getting funding is much easier than building a startup.
Absolutely.
What does it take to build a company?
See,
so you said, lot of blood, lot of sweat, and much more. Tell me about that much more.
See, you have to be to build a company which you are building for the customer. There are multiple ways in which you can build a company. Right? You can build a company for glamour. I see so many folks spending more time on social media than with their customers. And, but I mean, let's go into building a truly generational company which drives impact. Right? You have to build a product which is loved by the people, and that no matter how clear your idea is on what you want to build, that takes millions of tiny little iterations to build it. Building to 80% is easy. Then that covering that delta of 80 to 95, I don't think, you can reach 100. There will always be a lot of things that you can do. But in machine learning terms, we'll call it those diminishing returns, right? You will put insane amount of effort to get 2% jump. And those insane tiny little iterations take dogmatic focus. You literally have to cut everything else out of your life and just think about your customer, how they're going to use it, things you are thinking to build, and how they will have a second order, third order impacts on the overall product pipelines, and just keep improving that pipeline. It's a lot of science and then some art. Art, because unless you have a inherent understanding and you appreciate beauty, your products will look like a templated out, right? Think about how Google looks today. You don't want to reach there. You want it to, at least in the first few phases of your building, say up to 10 million, it reflects your identity. As a founder, you get attached to it, and it in a way reflects your identity. So if you understand those things, if you care about tiny little things, you will be sleepless.
Gaurav, help me understand. As much as I'm just enjoying the clarity of thoughts that you are bringing in, and I'm just placing myself in your shoes, and I'm wondering, यार जब मैं 20-25-30 साल का था, I had so many doubts. Can at this age, would people trust me? Am I the right fit to suggest and give this piece of advice to the vice president of a big company? Did you experience this, or ये खाली मतलब हम जैसे लोगों के साथ ही होता है?
Not really. It happens. It happens fairly often. Think like I was a developer, then I started building Verloop. It's enterprise SaaS. I'd never sold in my life, and then I had to sell a product. Or this sale will happen to a CXO, will happen to a super senior guys, because they are the ones who will decide the org strategy, right? And in a way, I'm no one to tell what to do.
So how did you deal with that situation?
मुझे तो BPO आता भी नहीं था. मुझे तो पता भी नहीं था contact center में क्या होता है. When we onboarded Nykaa was our first customer. They told me what deflection rates are. It's a very key metric in contact centers. We were blissfully ignorant. Right? So part was naivety. If I knew what I know today, probably I would have said, यार ये नहीं होगा. बंद कर देते हैं इसे, right? Part was naivety, and
beautiful.
That
you said something so beautiful. You said, if I knew what I know today, तो मैं कहता बंद कर देते हैं. So that means the ignorance became a gift at that point in time for you.
Yeah, I was foolish enough to think I can change it.
But only those foolish people have changed the world.
It will be relatively, it will be hard, but how hard?
You didn't realize that.
I didn't know that. Realize तो आप तब करते हो जब कुछ पता होता है.
And that played to support you. That played in your favor.
Both the ability to bear the pain and ambitions come in tranches. The more you get pressed, probably the more you can take in, and you don't break, right? So it came in tranches, so it was easier. But how deep that trench will go, I didn't know. So one was that I didn't know. Second was super belief on the product we were building. So there were times when I was super cocky and I was kicked out of the rooms. But then there were other times when people were like, ठीक है, young है, try कर रहा है, चलो chance दे देते हैं. Like extremely grateful to Sanjay, CTO of Nykaa. We didn't had a proper product. He knew it. कुछ झूठ नहीं बोला हुआ था, right? He knew कि ठीक से नहीं है, but he was like, try करेंगे. What's the worst that can happen? बंद नहीं चलेगा तो हटा देंगे. And then lived with us as we grew the product. They were growing much faster than us. So a lot of times we had to build things just for them, having patience not to just drop us and go to someone bigger. Always grateful to them. So Ganesh, the angel investor, he played a critical role. He taught how to do the enterprise sales. He is a seasoned guy. So a lot of folks, some I will build it And then the third was अब इतना कर लिया है, so now let's just.
And why do you call it Verloop?
So back in college, I had liked this name. I bought this name, and this has been the name of every single thing that I do since then. I keep saying I don't have an option to go back now. I'm not going to spend time finding a new brand name. So this company now has to work. Verloop in Afrikaan means on a tangential path of progress. So going up. Right. So I loved the name. Loop can also construct to an infinity. So our early symbols were infinity and all of those. So that's the name.
So that's the tangential growth path that you are onto.
That I want our customers to be on.
Got it. So in this journey, right, did you experience, have you experienced this space where you felt totally lost? And we say, shucks, man, what have I gotten into? What was that situation? How did you deal with that?
So, two sides of it. One is that there's a frequently you just soak in your while you're trying to do, and at some point you figure out that can't work right now.
Yeah.
Those are temporary phases. There are means and ways to just get out of it. But those are like, I wouldn't call it burnout because burnout usually are longer. It's just your brain needs some rest. I mean, even when you work out, you want to give your muscles specific time. So you're
to recover yourself.
To recover yourself, right? So you want to figure out what's your shutdown routine like. But there have been near-death scenarios because we came in when the promise of what we wanted to build was technologically not possible. So I will say we were 4.5 years early into doing things. So while we wanted to transform the contact center, we were delivering 20% automation. 20% automation will only pay you so much. So पैसे कहाँ से बनाओगे आप? पैसे नहीं बनाओगे तो spend कैसे करोगे? Right? So we had to let go of people at times. Those were hard times because you hire everyone. You handpick everyone and then you have to go back and tell that nahi kar payenge, right? So those were tough times, but as an org, I believe that also helped us improve. People suddenly were more clear about what we wanted to do, were willing to put in extra effort because they saw the future, right? Personally, I have enjoyed what I do. So beyond those short, when the brain needs to shut down, and over time I have figured out how I do it in a way that I can get the maximum ROI in that 2-3 days of window or whatever window that I take. But personally, I have just enjoyed what I do. Yeah, it's extremely hard problem to solve. Given conversations.
You know, while on one hand you were experiencing the whole journey, what you were experiencing of building an organization, going and asking for funds, revisiting the client's challenges, and coming back to your team and say, hey, let's take care of that, take care of this, iterate this, reiterate this, and work on this challenge that the customer is facing. While this was going on, what was happening in your personal life? How were you managing that? What were the challenges that you were facing, and what support that you were getting from that side? Because we don't talk about that. And you said it so beautiful. When two people come together, a lot can happen, depends on what you had for breakfast.
Right. So, I've been lucky. You can't have a troubled professional and personal life at the same time. There is only so much of stretch that your
one tire has to be stable.
One tire has to be stable, right? So, been lucky, very, very lucky with the very supporting family. Like for parents who come from a very small town, not knowing most of they still don't understand in depths of what I do, right? So still being supportive of everything that I have done when I decided to leave jobs, try something on my own and so on, and very supportive of whatever it takes. I mean, whatever it takes. At one point we were raising money and I was talking to my father and he was like, मेरे पास भी कुछ पैसे हैं in case you want.
How sweet.
Like, no,
ऐसा नहीं मैं गहने बेच के तेरे को देना चाहता हूँ.
No. It didn't reach there.
Okay.
I'm sure my mother will not go there.
मैं गहने बेच के बेटा तेरे को देना चाहता हूँ. जान जी ले अपनी जिंदगी. हाँ.
I know my mother enough. It won't reach there. She'll be like, "Gay nahi, mere to job kar." But I mean, whatever he had, I mean, he was willing to offer so that I can do. So on that front, then very lucky with the wife, extremely supporting. It's not easy to be a partner with someone who is living and breathing Verloop 24/7.
Yeah.
Is literally traveling like 3 weeks a month.
Yeah.
And when a week I'm there, I'm mentally never there, almost never there.
Yeah.
Those are the hard things.
Yeah.
I won't say I've been nice to her. I owe her over the prolonged life.
Yeah.
I hope I do have her. So some payback eventually. But been lucky to have that support system back at home.
Did I tell you, Gaurav, that every time when I've spoken to you, I find such a sincere, cute person that I can connect with. Because why? Because, the world that we live in, and especially in the creators economy that we talk about, the gig economy that we talk about, the startup world that we talk about, it's very easy to flaunt. Very easy to flaunt and get swayed away with what is seen on social media. And every time when I speak to you, I connect with you. So thank you for who you are.
It's easy to be sincere.
Yeah.
It's relatively easier.
Yeah.
Because it's just easier for me. Because I'm not on social, so life is easier that way.
Super.
Twitter is the only poison I take.
Here I've got two very important questions that I would like to dwell deeper into. One is, you said you travel a lot. And during our initial conversation, you mentioned that you get to travel to Saudi, India, and US every month. UAE every month, right? What are the similarities and the differences that you have experienced in these three different cultures?
Right. So, as a company which is now globally spread out, so we have folks working with us in South, and this is just a team, right? And then there are partners. So, as a company, we interact, customers aside, internally we interact with partners and internal teams across India, Middle East, Southeast Asia, US, some part of Europe, and then we have customers in all these geographies as well. So get to travel everywhere. The similarity is that at a macro level, everyone is optimistic about technology. Everyone knows that something beautiful is coming, which hasn't happened, I will say, since energy got cheap. Or energy got abundant, not cheap. It can get a lot cheaper. But energy got abundant. For the first time, intelligence is available on demand, and people appreciate it.
That's a powerful line. Intelligence is available on demand.
And for cheap.
It's like as if it's a commodity now.
Almost a commodity. So everyone is excited about it. Now, how you deal with it, what you're planning to do with it, is where I see the differences in execution scopes of people. Like if you will look at, and I'm talking from my bubble of interacting with startups on one side, engineers on the other side, and larger enterprises on the other side, right? I don't know what's happening in a tier 3s and 4s of India at this moment when I talk about any of this, right? So if you will look at US, the scale of ambitions are very, very different. There are folks who are building supersonic jets. One fine day, the guy woke up and said, I'm going to build a supersonic jet, right? 10 years back. But now we have boom aerospace, right? And they reached Mach 1. They are doing that. Then there are companies who are saying, I can eliminate the time in which it takes to do drug trials, because that's where the longest time is taken. So if I can generate human cells in a lab and do trials there, it's as good as human. But then it just happens so much faster. So they are taking up those super ambitious projects. Can they make nuclear fusion reactors? So that's on one side of it. That's what I see
So a lot of innovation happening in the US.
A lot of thought expansion is happening in US.
Yeah, beautiful. A lot
Not
of
innovation.
thought expansion happening. It's like, you are challenging everything possible.
Yes. Right. Everyone believed that 700 kilometer per hour is the most optimum way to fly. And on an aeroplane, whatever that pace they come to, right? 0.8 Mach, if I'm correct, is where everyone flies, whatever that number is. So whatever that optimized number is for all the airline. And then boom comes and says, why do you need it? If I can make it cheap, if I can make it fast, would you not want to fly to US in 6 hours instead of 16 or whatever that number comes to, right? So those challenging the fundamentals and challenging what everyone had taken for granted is happening.
Yeah, but I still go with the word that you have given, thought expansion.
Yeah, imagination expansion, I'd say.
Imagination expansion, absolutely.
So,
wow.
I love that energy, and a lot of money is going in there. But if you will look at on the India side, we are using that technology and getting into more practicalities of it. We are also one of the companies who is getting into the more practicalities of it. Like, where we are talking about how do we optimize whatever we already have with the new set of technologies that we have got. So I'll say US is focused on the top line. Can I grow the GDP of the world? And India is right now focused on, can I bring in more EBITDA?
Yeah.
Right. So that's the difference. That's the major difference that I see. Middle East is a slightly different economy. A lot of innovation is now being, while there is an adoption and there is a willingness from the government to do it, I think it will take a few more years before they're adopting things, but a few more years before they get into the innovation side of it. Right now, they are great capital allocators. Like if you think about any large investment that is going on in the world, one of the sovereigns will have their money in it, and they are helping it drive it, helping it bring to the Middle East. But that ecosystem is still evolving.
Yeah. So if you were to give one word to the US economy, one word to the Indian economy, one word to the UAE economy, what would be that one word that you would like to allocate?
US will be ambition. Sheer
economy.
ambition.
Okay.
India is optimization. Middle East, don't know. It's a very consumption. It's a consumption right now.
So innovation, optimization, and consumption. Right. Beautiful. You picked up this beautiful word called optimization. India is polarized. A set of senior leaders talking about that one should work for 70 to 90 hours a week. And then we have got the Gen Zs of the world. They are talking about we need flexi hours. We don't want to work for 70 to 90 hours. And here's an entrepreneur sitting in his 30s. What's your take on that? Addressing the two sparrows with the same bullet.
It depends on what you want from your life.
But I love the laughter before that. I would love to understand what was the underlying assumption with that laughter. But let's go ahead with what you're saying right now.
Right. So it depends on what you want from life. If you want to do something meaningful and you want to do something which will hopefully make you feel that you did something and you achieved something or you bended the word to your will, although that's a very heavy statement and probably not everyone will go for it, but right, extreme, I'm going until the extreme, right? You were able to achieve and feel that content and inner happiness doesn't come from external validations or a bunch more Instagram likes or whatever at a surface you're doing, right? You have to go a bit deeper, find what your passion is. And once you find your passion, right, you don't have a switch to turn it off. It's not possible at 5 p.m. you will reach home and you will shut down that passion and then it's not passion. Then it's someone else's passion and you're doing for it. Right? So you need to understand, when you have your passion is driving it. You need not be a founder, right? You might be a guy who's just interested in doing it. Like in the early growth days of Facebook, there were amazing people who were driven to the point that I will bring Facebook to every single person in the planet. And we will and we will expand the internet reach to bring more people in. Right? So that's the passion.
I remember my conversation with Kirtika, and what you just mentioned, she was talking exactly the same thing, sitting at the same chair where you're sitting at right now.
Right.
Where she spoke about that how when we were driving the 100 campaign, the idea is just to reach out to as many people as possible. So yeah.
Right. So when you're passionate, it's hard to shut it down because somewhere in the back of your head, you are constantly thinking about it. You may not be putting in 70 hours in front of a laptop, but technically you are putting insane hours. Is it 70? Is it 90? Is it 50? Whatever that is.
Just numbers. What you're talking about, the insane numbers.
Yeah, I mean, but you give your soul to do it. And then when you achieve it, I mean, it's a beautiful feeling. You feel, hopefully you feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
But if you're not passionate at that point, then hours don't matter. I mean, do whatever you feel like, whatever makes you happy. If roaming out makes you happy, then just optimize for that.
Yeah.
So know what you're optimizing for.
Yeah.
You can't have both. You can't be 9 to 5 and also do something meaningful.
Yeah.
You can have a day job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Gaurav,
okay.
what's your take on work life? And you can speak anything that you want.
For me, I don't think it exists.
Give me a high five. I personally believe it's a concept that we have created to bring in complacency in our lives. I personally believe so. I've never advocated for that. Right? I've never advocated for that. For me, wherever I am, can I be fully present? And that's it.
Yeah, so it takes a lot to follow your passion, not necessarily build a company. Your passion could be painting. I mean, imagine I'm a painter and now I'm out in Louvre with my family and I'm watching a painting and I'm thinking, isne kaise banaya hoga isko, right? And I'm getting into depths of it. Now, am I working or am I with the family? Right? So the lines get murky.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly thinking about it in the back of your head. You will look at that painting different than a non-painter like me. I will look at it. Right? So the lines are murky. When you get into the depths, follow what you are liking at that phase of your life. It can change. And you might have different priorities at different point of time. So there is no one concept of work-life balance that you can follow all through. But when you're in tranches of deep in your passion, there's no work-life balance. Work is your identity. Your family also affects your work and work also affects your family. ऐसा switch तो नहीं बंद हो सकता. There is that Severance. I'm not sure if you have seen that. There is Severance, Apple TV, beautiful show. There they explore this concept that at 6 p.m. shuts down. You don't remember what happened there.
Not possible.
Not possible, right?
Not possible.
So for me,
We
it
are
doesn't
human
exist.
beings at the end of the day.
For me, it doesn't exist. But to each his own.
So Gaurav, let's take a deeper dive into the world that you are selling in right now, the world of AI. Where are we in this world and where are we heading?
I think, like I mentioned, intelligence is getting a commodity and it's getting cheap very, very fast. If you will look at the recent ELO score for Gemini, it's at about 1330. It's hard for humans to, I mean, it's not impossible for humans to reach there, but it will be in a top percentile of the people, if you think, right? And that's available for you at any point of time. Now, and it will keep improving. Will the pace of improvement be the same? Will it slow down? I don't know. But it will constantly improve. Now, what you do with it depends on you. There was this, Kunal said this, the cred guy, that the faster car needs a better skilled driver. Right? So the more you have abundance of intelligence, so you need a lot more deeper thoughts or thought through things to decide how you're going to deploy it and where more it can be used. Like we are still figuring out use cases which are absolutely mind-boggling with the intelligence models that we have, which we didn't think which were possible right now, but they are possible as people are figuring them out. And so there is a lot of discovery that is happening while the core intelligence keeps improving. Uh, so as those more use cases evolve, the way we optimize processes around the world, the way interactions have been defined in the world, they will probably change. A lot of things that you use in a day-to-day life, a lot of interaction paradigms we have got used to will evolve and change. Like there is no reason why your houses or your Alexas are as dumb as they are, or your Roombas are as dumb as they are. Right? So those things. So the way we interact with material world will change. The way we experience services will improve. And services like even the personalized services like experiencing food at a restaurant, that can change. The way we drive, experience the world.
So there
will change.
are as many user cases as we can imagine.
Yeah, imagination needs to expand.
Yeah. You in one of the conversations that we were having, you mentioned a statement that for me was like, wow, would love to have someone who can talk this language on our platform. You said one of the consequences of you being in the industry is that probably 80 to 90% of the jobs would be eaten
95%.
away. 95% of the jobs would be eaten away. And a lot of people would get redundant. Tell us more about that.
Sure. See,
what would happen to those 95% of the people?
First, we'll talk about what will lead to that, and then we'll. So, if you will think about a typical BPO or a KPO, it's a cost optimization problem.
Yes.
Outsourcing is a cost optimization problem. And the technological limitations. Like a lot of KPOs exist because someone has to do. In insurance terms, that's called, they will transcribe the doctor's prescriptions, convert it for record, and then store it, or insurance will process it. Now that AI is able to parse that thing with a very, very high accuracy, 95% plus, right, and just keeps improving, it can do it in seconds, milliseconds, versus what would have taken, say, 10 minutes for that transcription to happen. So when this happens, there are two things that will happen. One is the jobs will go away. Right? A lot of jobs, like low value repeat is what is outsourced. You don't outsource your private banking relationship management to India.
Yeah.
You outsource your checkbook request.
Beautiful.
Handling.
So coaches are safe.
For the time being, yes. See, intelligence is growing.
I know.
Personalization is growing. So we don't know what will
For
be
the time
safe,
being,
what
it's
will
safe.
not
Okay.
be safe.
How much time do I have
I don't know.
to look for an alternative career for myself? Yeah.
So when this happens, two things will happen. One is the net number of people required to process the same amount of interactions, be it support, be it document processing, back office, whatever, will drastically reduce.
Yeah.
Probably more than 80%, 90% will reduce. When the 10% is left, ideally a brand would want them to be closer to the customer.
Yeah.
Because if you have a BPO person sitting in India and there is a guy who is interacting from somewhere in San Francisco, the guy has never visited that place.
Yeah.
They can't appreciate it.
Yeah.
Right? You can't appreciate Bangalore unless you have visited the Bangalore. If I look at a map and want to tell someone that hey, the driver is just 2 hours, 2 kilometers away from you, and should you teach in UAE context 3 minutes? In Bangalore context, it will be 30 minutes. Right? So unless you have those nuances, and those nuances can't be outsourced.
Yeah.
So when the 10% people are required, they will probably be insourced. So BPOs will have two problems. One is the net number of people is lesser. Second is the jobs want to be insourced. And as the companies rip through the jobs and cut them out, there will be a nationalist element involved in every single country, which will say my jobs have to sit back in my country, no outsourcing allowed.
Yeah.
If you look at Saudi has banned it. You can't outsource BPOs out of Saudi. It has to happen inside the country.
Wow.
And that will happen in every single country, at least in every single mature economy. May not be in India, but mature economies will not outsource it. Governments will prohibit you from doing that. So that's how I see it.
Yeah. So on one hand, we are talking about the optimization process. In one of the conversations with a very senior leader from VMware I was talking to, he spoke about, Gaurav, what we are not talking about is the technology that is required to make AI possible, the computation and the algorithm required to make AI possible, because of which there's a lot of energy that is getting consumed. And that might in the years to come would have an opposite impact on the planet that we are a part of. What's your take on this? What is it that we are not considering right now that might harm us in the years to come?
Yes, the words per human energy consumption will go up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, while you replace the humans, the technology is compute hungry,
Yeah.
energy intensive.
Yes.
But if you will follow a general, and this appeals to me a lot, so I read a lot about it, right? If you will follow, the only thing that has happened in the humanity consistently is not GDP growth or what, but energy kept getting cheaper.
Yeah.
Right? The per unit cost of generation has constantly come down.
Yeah.
And the same principle, I mean, civilization levels are dependent on your energy consumption and your energy footprint. Energy consumption will spike, but I'm sure we'll find better ways to harness energy. The fusion reactors are being talked about again. Are being talked about fairly highly. There are companies who are
Do you
trying
think
to
we have
build
got
it.
enough time left considering the climate condition that we are sitting in right now?
I think so.
Okay. It's an optimistic belief towards something or a hope or
It's
some data to support that?
It's an optimistic belief that humanity has found ways to survive.
Okay. Okay. Because if you look at what has happened the last 20, 30 years, especially to the climatic condition in the world, be it the conditions that you experience on day-to-day basis by sitting in Delhi or Bangalore, the heat that you experience, or the reduction in the rainfall that we have, or what's happening in the glaciers, the glacier conditions worldwide. The data is saying otherwise. I mean, it's okay not to have a solution right now, but somebody who is sitting at a position where you are sitting at, it's extremely important for us to ponder and get your perspective.
Right, see, temperatures have increased.
Yeah.
So the data says. So, I mean, it must be right. A few things that I believe where we messed it up was countries got populist. We shut down nuclear reactors for no reason.
Yeah.
That led to, again, the vision. See, the truth is your energy consumptions are not going to reduce, like it
Yeah.
or not. Europe in the short run can say that we will not put air cons,
Yeah.
but nahi chalega wo.
Yeah.
Your energy consumption and it's a constant pattern. As the countries progress, their energy consumption goes
Yeah.
up. As India is progressing, the number of air cons is increasing. Everything is increasing,
Yeah.
right? More lights, more air conditioning, and so on and so forth. I believe in the short run, we also fucked up stuff around, got too populist, nuclear reactors were shut down. We slowed down transition to battery-powered vehicles. Are they a solution? I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because you get to read on both the sides. I'm not an expert.
Yeah. Because
I'm not an
one is
expert, though.
leading to another damage.
Yeah, it's
Because on one hand, when we are talking about EV vehicles, what we are not considering is what's going to happen those batteries which are not in use. And that's leading to a lot of pollution in the world.
See, but
it's like
the way is not to stall that progress, but to find a solution.
to find a solution.
Because we may be able to find a solution. What truth is, we will not be able to regenerate hydrocarbon
Yeah.
fuels.
And that's where it's a concern. That's where the purposeful engineers, the consciously awakened engineers are going to play a very vital role. One of the analogies that come to my mind is like, in order to kill cancer cells, we give medicines, and in the end, they damage the organs. And the person dies not only because of cancer, but a person has to let go of this world because of the multiple damage organ failure.
Right.
Multiple organ failure.
But see, in the timeline, you can't jump.
Yeah.
You will go through, I mean,
What we have to go through.
London went through a pile of horse shit before
Yeah.
it cleaned up.
Yeah.
Right? And the
Yeah.
cars came in. So Do we have an answer on what happens to those batteries
not
today?
be. Yeah.
No.
No.
But 100% sure the petrol will run out.
Yeah.
So you have to find a different solution. And it can't be कि अभी 70 साल देखते हैं फिर देख लेंगे. Right? So we stalled progress at some point. That's not great. But again, I mean, not my area of expertise. And
So let me
we
ask you
want
this
the ideal
question.
universe.
So today, if I give you $10 million, what business would you start?
I'm
Why?
happy doing what I'm doing right now.
You would continue to invest in the same business?
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very happy doing what I'm doing. So, and this is the best time to be building around human process optimization.
So as we are moving, right? So you said intelligence is becoming a commodity because intelligence is something that you can buy. In the years to come, what would be the what would be the major investment that people would be investing in? Because intelligence would go out of window.
See, a thing that will change
What would
is...
be premium?
So colleges will, again, I mean, they're already for network, but that intelligence will get taken away, right? So kind of colleges will become clubs you go to form relationships and be a part of the communities. So people will invest in experiences. People will invest in... it's like, I mean, roti kapda solve ho gaya, right? So now you're thinking about makan, and then you're thinking about experiences, you're thinking about physical world, beauty which goes beyond once your basic needs are fulfilled, right? So those experiences, I think, will start becoming critical. That will also lead to very, very highly personalized stuff, like rather than... And while your primary mode of transportation might be a self-driven car, but every once in a while you would want a V12 to rev around and do it. Or, I mean, you do you. I mean, you will figure out what makes you happy and then keep going towards that direction.
Yeah. So looking back right now, what do you think? What was that one decision that, given a choice to you to revisit, you would
revisit and change it?
Yeah.
I would have bolted that barbell when I broke my ACL. So yeah, but on a company front, I think at some point we had spread ourselves too thin. We had just raised the money, and money was, this is 21, 22, money was cheap, and there was a promise of more money. And at some point, we had attached our success to the head count, started bringing in a lot more people than we needed.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest fallacies in any businesses. People believe that the more people they have, the more successful the company is.
Right. So we have already revisited and changed it to a large extent. Like we are half of what we used to be, while we are 4 times the revenue. So yeah, I would probably remind not to burn that money, because as a founder, you don't control market, you don't control customer. You can majorly control product, but not 100%. Cost is the thing you can control to the dot.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing we let go of.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I tell my team. I said, we are no way against investing money. But unless we have optimized ourselves using the best technology available, I think we are doing ourselves more harm than any good.
True.
Now, when you look back, right, what's the worst piece of advice that you have received? Don't tell me from whom, but what's the worst piece of advice? Shucks, man, मैं ऐसा कहता पागल कैसे हो सकता था? Why did I go for that?
Grow at every cost.
Grow at every cost.
No matter what it takes, just mindlessly grow. Money will fix it eventually. That doesn't happen. Fundamentals have to be right. Right? I was fighting a market. Technology नहीं था. I could have force fed you a product, or ek saal baad you would have spit it out again when the renewals came in. So grow at every cost was a wrong advice. That led to also us hiring so many. I mean, that led to a lot of more things, right? So shouldn't have done that. Should have just trusted the Excel more than for the foundations of the company excel more than people I believe knew better than I did.
So I think that's a very good piece of advice that you are sharing. In fact, some time back, I was talking to one of my team members who have recently joined, and we were talking about like, what is it that we could do differently to grow? Shall we go for this technology, that technology? And he gave me a beautiful piece of advice. He said, let's get the basics in place first, rather than looking at growing at any cost. So right now, Gaurav, if you were to give a piece of advice, 3 pieces of advice to be really effective and successful as an entrepreneur, as an individual, what would that be?
You will have to experiment a lot of things to figure out what you like. Once you have found what you like, and now it is established beyond doubt that you like this, you can see yourself continue to pursue and become master at it, not necessarily start a business, but master at it. It will take a lot of working your ass off to be able to actually be in top 1% of the people who do this. And again, I'm breaking it away from just starting a business, right? It could be like you want to play tennis and you want to be absolutely great at it. You may still not be a grandmaster, but you could be one of the top rated in your city, country, however you place, right? And that will take a lot of time, effort, and it will take a lot beyond usual to be able to do that. So, like I was saying, work your ass off. You'll have to figure out what works, what routine works for your body. You can't let it slide. Then you have to pay back. You have to pay that debt back ultimately. So better not to accumulate that debt a lot. Figure out what routine works. I will not say high protein, low calorie, whatever. Whatever works for you, just go figure it out. Whatever supplements work for you, if you need one, whatever diet works for you, veg, non-veg. I'll leave all of that up to you. Figure it out. You'll have to run a lot more experiments to figure out what mentally, what keeps you physically and mentally most active and present, so that you can do what you like in a better throughput. And then last will be that figure out a note-taking system that works for you. How do you journal your thoughts? How do you write your thoughts? How do you decide what you want to do next? How do you document that entire journey? That's very, very important. Again, you will have to figure out what works for you. I can't recommend what works for me and then hope that it will work for you. Can't parachute that advice. For me, it's pen and paper. For a lot of people, it's tools. Depends. Again, figure out what works for you and then just use it to track.
I love the last piece of advice that you shared. Of course, work your ass off. That's one. And when you said that, find a way that helps you in note-taking and take care of all the reflections and the thoughts that are coming to you.
We forget. We want to believe we'll remember, but we don't. So you need to document things as quickly as possible, and means and ways are to each.
And here's the last question.
Sure.
Because you spoke about that at one point in time you were like really fat, and today your weight is less than your weight when you were 10. Now, how does a day look like in Gaurav's life that allows him to work the way he does and maintains the way he does, maintains himself?
Right. Like I was saying, not super fit at this point in life. Will improve over next few months. But due to the medical things and so on, it's okay. So get up early in the morning. I do a bit of cardio, half an hour, 45 minutes. More often than not, it's biking because I really like to bicycle. Road bikes. So it will be biking I will do, and then I will start working around 7:30. Start the day with a lot of coffee, a lot of cold brew, which I like to brew, or I will just visit a Starbucks nearby and will have it. Not the best coffee, but it's a source of caffeine. So treat it that way. A bunch of supplements I take, which help me focus and also ensure deficiencies and all are not there, because I'm constantly traveling, so food becomes a mess. So supplements, and that's the start of the day. Then around 1:30 I will have the meal.
That's your first meal.
First meal. Not super heavy. Light. Will prefer omelets. Will prefer eggs. Will prefer some salad, some fruits or whatever is there. Not hung on what will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever is in the fridge is clean. I can have that. Otherwise, if I'm meeting people, then whatever is on the table. But low spice, spice tolerance has gone down, unfortunately. Not good for a Bangalore boy, but it has gone down. Then I will have one major meal late in the evening, around 6, I will say.
Yeah.
8ish, I will step out and do workout. Right now, there is a lot of recovery. But yeah, 8, I want to be in the gym, wherever I am. And then come back home. If there is something to be done, then do it. Otherwise, just...
It's around 10:30. You call it a day.
10:30, I'll call it a day.
So you start with you start with bicycling, a cardio. You start working at 7:30. You do your evening gymming at around 8:30, and then followed by another 1 hour of work. That's how the day looks like.
Yes.
Super. So thank you so much, Gaurav. It has been an absolute delight.
Really enjoyed
having
this
you on this
conversation.
podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I hadn't thought about all of this in depths.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.